Good evening and welcome to everyone, here and everywhere, wherever you are and wherever you are not. So we are continuing to spend time in good activities of listening, not just listening to the words, but listening to the pointed meanings, but not just listening to the pointed meanings, but the pointed meanings that are relevant to us, so that it will show us, enable us to find a good way that leads to middle way. It's effortlessly we can find ourselves wandering off the extreme ways. And with effort, we have to know where that it is, and then find our way, be that behaviorally, be that emotionally, be that philosophically, intellectually. So when Chandrakirti talks about people needing to enter into the middle way, it is a big kind of purpose of his thesis is so as to help people to know where they are is far away from middle way. If they are on the middle way, they will be pretty much free of suffering and free of misery, particularly free of sufferings that we think are caused by others, particularly karma, thinking that others did this to me and therefore I'm suffering this. And one who is able to find the middle way usually is not about what has happened to them, but what they are doing themselves that they need correcting. They're not some kind of a unfortunate kind of victim to circumstances, but their understanding of karma or the cause and effect is such that they know how to moderate their own karmic predicament. If one who cannot change themselves would not know what is the cause, what is the effect. So learning to change one's steps of life, one needs to know what are the steps that are not useful. So here, in this particular text, of course, it talks about how to find our steps, and that is middle. That is middle means that is safe. That is safe means that is beneficial to oneself and particularly beneficial to others. Often we prioritize what is benefit to me, what is it in for me. And here it should be other way around, because this is Mahayana middle way that is intentionally for the benefit of others, because it is the compassion that we lack when we meet with suffering and sentient beings who have problems. And it is then that we fail to have compassion where compassion is most warranted. We fail to practice patience where patience is necessary, where we need to practice humility, we do the exact opposite. We need to give time to allow things to settle. We become very impatient and we're not willing to give any time. So all of this is a symptom of one who do not know the way around how to boost our compassion with the wisdom discerning emptiness. So this text, although is about emptiness, it's more about distinction between what is whole and what is part. It's empty of whole in the part, Yet we think that the part is all the thing that there is. One doesn't see any parts. One doesn't see any other parts playing the role. So it's empty of the whole in the parts. If we can see the thing that we are looking at is only a small part, there is nothing in the thing by itself. It wasn't a part to the whole. So being able to know that is a great cause of compassion, because there are so many who doesn't know that and therefore behave as if they do. And so being able to have compassion means those who do not know that anything that is made out of many parts is empty of the whole. It is not empty of the part, but they mistakenly think the small part is the whole thing. They don't see all the they don't see all the other things that is contributing to make the whole thing. So therefore it's empty of an inherently existing thing. And a mistaken view often leads to further problems. And so it is in this regard, the whole thesis is to teach us how to know the intricate workings of the minds and how to negotiate with the wrong views. So here, what we have gone so far is already dealt with some non-Buddhist views as early stages of this text, but now we are dealing with particularly the mind-only school and some of their views. We have to know the mind-only school's views in order to find faults in that. So we are on end of the verse number 61. Now we're going to move at further refutation of the basis of the support and the object. So this has two divisions. Firstly, repeating the theory of the mind-only school. So that's what we're going to go over. Verse number 62 till 64 is all about the theory, the very theory of the mind-only school, the basis of the support, basis of the support and object of the perceptions. So this page number 209. Miglo Kyawaranu Kanshile, Demata do Kuni Kenjurshin, Rangi Namshi Tengi Nutella, Ombo Sukjem Mixe Chawarto. Dina Wangbo Legion number Chizume Barangi Sawanle was on in Jura Madobe, Kiwa Chirosuma Sember Land. Milamnane Sudan Shemeba, Ranu Mile Te Namjensem, Jungwa Chidar Teshin Selandir, Chiro Mebra Yin Yochena. So all these three verses goes together. First verse, it says, you say, this is this mind-only school, mind-only school saying, you say that from the potency of visual consciousness, this consciousness arise wholly at once. This potency on which this consciousness is founded is what is thought of as the I, the material visual power. People think you say that it is from the senses that perception come, not knowing that when colors are beheld, it's due to the mental seeds, not outer stimuli, that things are seen. The outer world they apprehend, you say, is but the mind. In dreams, the objects seen are not outside the mind. Mind assumes their aspect through its ripened potency. And as with dreaming, so with the waking life, you say the mind exists without external objects. So those are the three root verses. It says these three verses illustrate others' theory. The others is mind-only school theory. It is the Yogacara. Yogacara is the name of the mind-only school. Because Yogacara is a very subjective meditator school. Yoga means meditation here. Chara means the conduct. Those whose conduct is determined by their meditation. In this, it is the Yogacara theory that is being presented here in the past three verses. They are trying to establish the point with relation to seeing things using the example of high consciousness. And high consciousness arises immediately as a result of ripening of its potential. That potential which serves as basis or a support for the production of eye consciousness is called eye sense organ. This is what the mind-only school says. This is, of course, different from what the Vaiveshika. Vaiveshika is the earlier particular school, the Theravadan school, says about eye conscious organ having a shape, etc. The mind-only school maintains that there is a thing called eye sense organ, but refers only to the potential of mind. Potential that is in the mind. Because remember, they emphasize more on the mind. Whereas Vaiveshika emphasizes more on the visual stimuli itself. You might call this the store consciousness because all the potentials are part of the store consciousness that arises and results in the eye consciousness is called the eye sense organ. The consciousness arises out of the sense organ. There's no need of an external object or visual form for the production of eye consciousness. So this is their argument. Is you don't need things external because it's the mental potential in the mind that makes things to see. The Madhyamika would say that three factors are needed. So Madhyamika is the middle way school saying that not only the mind only like mind only school, or not only the stimuli only at the Vaiveshika like, but Madhyamika, middle way school said that you need all three factors. Vaiveshika also said that those who believe in the existence of external object would definitely make use of the external object as the cause for the production of I and other consciousness. Usually we are I don't know, whatever school we usually think the object is what there is. The object wasn't there wouldn't be any perception or any problem whatsoever. So it's totally to do with object. So it's all about what is out there. But mind-only school said there's no need to depend on external objects. The eye sense consciousness arises just by depending on a seed in the mind, which has the potential. In the same way, the appearance is produced. For example, both the blue flower and the eye consciousness are the result of the potential. The potential has dual result. This proves that the visual form is a result of same potential, and potential generate the mind or the consciousness. The visual form is just a part of that mind. There is no separate existence of visual form. There's a lot of strength in that because the object itself got no blueness from the blueness. It wasn't mentally imputed, and we conceptualize it. There is no, if we conceptualize, then we can see the blue as blue. But without us conceptualizing blue, even the blue doesn't manifest blue, isn't it? So that's the really good strength of mind-only school. Got a lot of points that often often we don't realize the strength of it. And quite a lot of time people say it's all in the mind because they think how the mental consciousness, if we don't believe the thing is such and such, then the thing itself doesn't have an independent existence, you see. So that's the mind-only school is a lot more advanced school than saying having the things is existing from its own side. Ordinary beings, without knowing that external object appears as a result of this potential, because the mind-only school talks about this potential, which is some kind of a propensity that are imprinted on the store consciousness, and therefore making things appear as if it was the object itself. Yeah. Think that the external object exists on their own, separately from the potential. This is ordinary people, yeah. When we are deluded, that's what we always think. They say ordinary, but I think we should go deluded. Because deluded is very ordinary, you know. You don't have to try hard to be deluded. You just have to be an ordinary person. They therefore impute these external objects as truly existing. Yeah, most of the time we are in that state of mind. We just see the thing totally exists from its own side. We don't even think there's anything to do with our mind imputing into things. In a dream, there is no separate existence of a visual form. So that's their example. But out of the ripening of the potential in the mind, these things appear. So he says you don't need external object to have dreams, you know. So the fact that you dream is because there is a mental potential on which there's imprinted things. And so you don't need external object to have dreams. The same is the case that when you're awake, there is no separate external object. This comes to prove that there is no existence of any external object. It is only the mind that exists. So that's the mind-only school. That's their argument. That's verse number 62. There's a lot of strength in that. You can't refute the view unless you see some fallacy in that. First, you need to hold the view as it is the best view. You have to be almost converted into believing that, and you relish that for a while, unless you discover some fallacy with that. So that's why mind-only school is, because that's why how this text deals with refuting the wrong views gradually, from the gross views to the subtle and subtle. So that is the presenting the theory of the mind in school. Second is presenting reasoning to oppose it. So now we have to find a even more reason to refute that. This is 4 subdivisions. This is very interesting. The first is equalizing reasoning of similar reasons. Now, this is really syllogistic language. In the logic language, there goes equalizing reasoning of the similar reasons. Second is rejection of the counter-argument through the earlier reasonings. The third is all the reasonings are similar to the thesis. Fourth is reason pointing out that there is no scriptural evidence. So using this kind of thorough way. So the reasoning are four reasonings. First is the equalizing reasoning of similar reasons is explained by next verse. This is verse number 65. Chitar migme panne milam tu ngoso nawe yisim jungte tar migwan me barangi sawan milam longwalan dirchi mi. Now this is the argument. Now we have to present the reasoning to oppose their view by using the equal reasoning. Using the equal reasoning that they reason. You give the same reason that they are giving in order to oppose them. You don't reject their view saying, I don't accept your view, but you use their view, their reason, to invalidate the reason in reasoning. So, but just as in a dream, when eyes are closed, because before they're talking that you can see things in dream without having to have objects, eye opening, So now here, just as in dream, because that's their reasoning, their reasoning, when eyes are closed, the mental consciousness color does occur. We agree with that. We agree with that. Why is it that a blind man does not see without his eyes? Now this is their own reasoning. Because one who's sleeping is like a blind, isn't it? But yet he can have dreams. And now, so therefore, why can't blind person can see? Because he doesn't have eyes. Through ripening likewise of his mental seeds, because if you don't need if you have the just potential in your mind, then you can see. So why the blind person don't see? See, this is the what is called equalizing reasoning of similar reasons. That's because you use the opponent's reason, you validate that, and then use the same reason to invalidate that. In dialectical terminology, this dialectical or syllogism or logic is same. This is known as equalizing reasoning. According to Madhyamika, this is middle way philosophy. There are 5 dialectical reasoning, not just 4. The first is the reasoning of negation of production, which is also known as adamantine reasoning or Vajra-like reasoning. So this is just a technical term, which means negation of production. This is the reasoning used in the root text. It's just saying what is the... so when it says it's not produce, it's talking about not produced by itself, by other, and so on, when it uses that. All things do not exist because they are not produced from self, from other, or any of the 4 alternatives. So that's that way of using is called the Vajra-like reasoning, because the Vajra means unbreakable. Nobody can counter-argue that it is self-produced. Or nobody can argue that it's produced by other, and so on. So therefore, it's like unbreakable. That nobody can argue with that. So that's the strongest one. Second is the reasoning of negating production from existence and non-existence. Yeah, existence and non-existence, negation, production, true existence and non-existence. This means that things do not exist because there is no production of existence or non-existence. This means that if you believe a certain thing exists, there is no need of production. If it doesn't exist, you can't make new things out of nothingness. Because nothing is produced, there is no true existence. So that's the second reasoning of negating from production, from existence and non-existence. Now the third one is so the first one we went through called Vajra-like reasoning. In Tibetan it's called Dorje Segme Rikpa. Dorje means adamantine. Segme Rikpa, so adamantine reasoning. The second what we just went through is Yome Kengoki Rikpa. Yome Kengoki Rikpa. The reason that opposes negates the production from true existence and non-existence. So that's the second. The third one is Mushi Kengoki Rikpa. Mushi Kengoki Rikpa is the four alternatives we talk about, which negating production, four alternatives. This means there's no existence because there's no production from the four alternatives. One single cause will produce single result, manifold result. Manifold cause will not produce one single result or manifold result. Cause is divided into two single cause and manifold causes. A single cause will not produce two types of result. Manifold causes will not produce two kinds of results. So there are four alternatives. So this is the four alternatives. Reasoning on the negation of production from four alternatives. So that's the third one. Fourth one is Chik Tudalgi Rikpa. We have Chik Tudalgi Rikpa. Chik means one, Tudal means many, Tal means devoid of one or many. Yeah. So this means the reasoning of the negation of one or many. All things do not exist inherently because there is true existence of one or many, because one and many. If nothing exists, either one or many, you cannot have anything. Yeah, this cannot exist, whether unless it is one or many. One or many. Since neither one nor many exist, there is no true existence. So they both mutually inclusive. Fifth one, which is last one, which is the strongest reasoning, is the reasoning of interdependent origination. Things do not exist inherently because they are dependent on causes and conditions. So these five reasonings, which we went through, are the five Madhyamika reasoning that are accepted by both the Swatantrika Madhyamika and Prasangika Madhyamika. The Swatantrika Madhyamika and Prasangika Madhyamika. These are two subdivisions within the middle way school. Prasangika Swatantrika really means autonomous middle way school. Prasangika means the consequentialist middle way school. So Prasangika means consequentialist. Swatantrika means autonomous. So there are two. I think that it may come up later on. The Prasangika, which is consequentialist middle way school, itself has four reasoning of its own. The first is reasoning of showing contradictions. Tibetan term means inferential reasoning, known to the opponent. Yeah. So you use a contradiction that are accepted by the opponent, and therefore you can oppose it. It is unlike the case of the Swatantrika reasoning. Swatantrika is autonomous school reasoning, where it is said that where there is a fire, there is a smoke. So they use this kind of inferential reason to establish the existence of fire. They use smoke. This reason is acceptable both to the presenter of the syllogism as well as to the opponent when you use when you're using showing the contradiction. If this is presented to somebody who sees the smoke but who does not accept that there is fire, you will try to prove that there is fire because there is smoke. Another way is prasangika way, that is to say that if there is no fire, then there would not be smoke either. Yeah, this is known as inferential reason, known to the opponent. So you use this kind of reasoning that the opponent know, because the person who presents the syllogism does not accept it. The person who presents that syllogism believes that there is a fire if there is a smoke, but the opponent does not know there is smoke. If there is no fire, there should not be smoke. This reasoning is not only acceptable to the opponent. So using this example, most debates in Tibetan system are based on this kind of reasoning. You ask a question, and the answer must be the first. Will be the first, the thesis, and then the reasoning. Then on the basis of that reasoning, you go on refuting the opponent's thesis. In this way, it is not necessary for you to present any thesis. You simply go on rejecting the theory of the basis of opponent's own words, So that's why the Nagarjuna says he has no thesis. He says no thesis. He just keep rejecting everybody's thesis. I think I can't remember exact wording, but this is almost there. Means because I have no thesis, I have no faults, except saying that, of course. I think that probably was the problem. And then he wrote a book. After the book should be burned into fire. No, it got published and memorized and still going on. So there must be a compassionate element into the people needing to know this, and then you don't have little thesis of clinging to anything yourself. When you have no clinging, then all the suffering just eliminated. Then true compassion happens. So maybe he has only one thesis, that is to teach compassion to people. Tibetan word for the second reasoning, must prasangik madeka is equalizing reasoning of similar reasoning, although this translation may not be correct English. The easiest example I can think of is, you have a thief. You are a thief because you are looking right and left. Anyone else who looks right is also a thief. The third, maybe the police learns this. Anyone's looking right and left, you got to follow them. Because most police know a lot about the behaviors of the thieves, And third is the reasoning of showing contradiction in what the opponent says and thus refuting his thesis. The fourth is showing the reasoning as a thesis that needs to be proven. This has been dealt with many times here already. This is the meaning of showing the opponent's reasoning as a thesis. For example, say you don't believe in the existence of self-awareness, and the Yogacharya says there is self-awareness because there is memory in the mind. The Madhyamika says they do not accept the memory of the mind. Reason given by Yogacara, the memory of mind itself becomes a thesis to be debated. These are the four particularly accepted by Prasangika Madhyamika school. The reasoning being used here is the equalizing reasoning of similar reasons. This means that if you say that say that in a dream without depending on eye sense organ, just through the ripening of the potential of the mind, one sees visual things arise, you should apply the same reasoning to the blind person. Even though he may not have the eye sense organ, as a result of the ripening of the potential, he should have mind that sees visual object. This is the reasoning of Madhyamika users to refute the contention of the mind-only school. There are several interpretations possible here. In some schools, what we see or hear during dreams is not considered as the same as visual forms or sounds as we apprehend them in an awakened state. There is no ear consciousness, no eye consciousness, etc. Naturally, there is no visual form. According to one interpretation, that of those who believe that there is nothing but mind consciousness, there is nothing beside mind consciousness present. The mind consciousness is trying to do the work of all the other consciousness. Mind consciousness sees forms and hears sounds. Every consciousness has its own object. Visual form is the object of the eye consciousness, and tangible object is the object of the body consciousness, tactile consciousness. Mind consciousness consists of all conceptual objects. In a collective term, it is a collective term. The visual form, sounds, etc., which appear in dreams are all part of this. They are not visual form, sounds in the real sense. They are objects of mental consciousness, not eye and ear consciousness. If you claim that mind consciousness can see visual forms in a dream, why can't a blind person see a visual form without having eye consciousness or sense organ? Or after all, if the visual form is seen by consciousness other than eye consciousness, this would be possible. So equalizing reason. So that is reasoning to oppose the view of the mind-only school. Second is the rejection of the counter-argument through the earlier reasoning. This is shown by the next two verses. Kade kyodar milam tukbai nuba meyo separ me yurna tukbe numin chidaran diri meba Tedar mitse meche chi mereks. Chidar migme di gyumintar milam tuyan yine gyumai, teche milam tuyan tengomik zumbe yujin tokbe gyurke lang. Yeah. The potential of mental consciousness. Now this is Madhyamika arguing, yeah? Madhyamika arguing, and the counter-argument of the mind-only school. The potential of the mind consciousness, you say, matures in dreams, because they're saying you don't need a visual form. It matures in the man as the potential itself. You say matures in dream. If it does not ripen in the blind mind's waking state, he says, yes. So he says, why is it? Why doesn't happen in the blind person's mind? Why it doesn't ripen? But why should we not say that just as the potential mental consciousness does not mature in a waking life, it does not do so either in a dream? So this is the counter argument through very, very similar reasoning. Very similar reasoning. Yeah, so I think read the same next verse. Just as the eyeless does not cause such a ripening when we are dreaming, neither should our sleep. And so you must concede that even in dream, both sense and objects are the causes of mistaken mental consciousness. The mind-only school says that there is difference between. So this is their counter-argument. Yeah, their counter-argument is that there is a difference between form seen in a dream and the blind person not being able to see visual objects. In a dream, the potential is in the sixth consciousness, means the sixth mental consciousness ripens because it is supported by the condition of sleep. The sleep functions as the condition that enables the potential of the sixth consciousness, the mental consciousness, the hidden during the waking state, to rise and see things. In the waking state, the ripening of the six is not possible because there is no supportive factor of sleep. But just as there is no ripening of the sixth consciousness in the waking state, why can't we say that there is no ripening of the potential of the sixth consciousness in dream? It might be said that there is a difference as to whether or not sleep is present. Dreams appear only during sleep. Sleep functions as a condition for dreams in which the mind consciousness sees visual forms and so on. For the blind person, there is no assistance of a sleep. The blind person does not have the eye sense organ. The lack of eye consciousness is not the cause of ripening the potential. In the same way, one might say that neither will sleep function as a cause of ripening the potential of the sixth consciousness. Then it says, therefore, in sleep too, whatever is grasped or held as visual form and so on, or sound, or whatever, the mind which sees visual form and so on should be accepted as arisen from visual object and sense organ, the eye, etc. Now, this is interesting. Maybe we can think in, say, a person who never had a sight in his life, whether he could ever dream visual things, huh? Or does he? Because he has to have some mental consciousness of what is that, he can still dream. I'm sure the blind people have. But people who are born blind would have visual dreams. We are asking questions without anybody having experienced this. Though they are false in the dream, but falsely they can function as causes for the production of the mind which sees the visual form. So talking about in the dream, the person sees things that are not there, therefore it's false. But it is influencing the mind of the dreamer to have the memory of the dream, isn't it? He wakes up from the dream and feel very upset or very, very happy or whatever. So there's something that influences the mind without exposed to the object. Even the dream itself is false, but experience you have is not false. Yeah, it's kind of it's true to your experience. So this is very interesting. They're talking about the false appearance, mind-only school, and true appearance, mind-only school. Yeah. Semtsamba Namjun and Semtsum Namden, I think there is that. The mind-only school maintains that the ripening of the sixth consciousness is possible. The sixth consciousness is possible only in dreams because it's supported by sleep. Sleep functions as a cause. This is not so in the case of the blind person in the awakened state. So they try to distinguish these two. Madhyamika equalizes these two. It argues, because we are counter-argument, yeah. It argues how can it be maintained that sleep is a cause and not the blindness, So this, because Madhyamika school considered all factors as a cause. There is no reason to say that not having eye sense organ is an obstacle to the ripening of the potential. If being blind cannot function as a cause for ripening the potential, we can see that sleep cannot function as a cause. Sleep and blindness are equalized here. Yeah, both sleep and. Therefore, one sees a visual object. It must arise from factors that include the visual object and sense organs. Eye sense organ. So this mind-only school, the Madhyamika school does not think it's only the mind. It has to visual object as well as eye sense organ as well as mental conscious. So you have to bring all of these three factors together. Whereas mind-only school sort of dismisses the importance of the other two because it's the mind only that is the true aspect, truly existing. Blind person does not have these factors. present in the waking state, which is why he does not see the visual form. That's right. Blind person doesn't have even in the waking state, he doesn't have a visual object, nor does he has a visual consciousness. He has a mental consciousness only. That's why he can't see. So the Madhyamika school, therefore, refutes the counter-argument by saying that, in dreams, what does it mean? We shouldn't be looking at this as a mind-only school and a Madhyamika school. So where there are occasions when we do not play equal or similar emphasis on the stimuli as well as sense organ, we only think it's all in your mind. When you say it's all in your mind, when a lot of the people, when people have some kind of mental problem, we think it's all in your mind, and do not try to sort of help them, but thinking it's all his mind that is the problem. When we do that, it becomes very demeaning for them. It feels they are so ununderstood. For them, they have a lot of perceptions and experiences, for them, they can see, they can hear. And we are saying, no, there is nothing, you're all in your head type of thing. So when you do that, it will be very hard for the person with that kind of episode when they're having that. So the Madhyamika school is very compassionate. Or you can say, yeah, this is just a dream. You're not saying they're wrong. They're just a dream. So that sometimes you can say, oh, it's just a dream. You're having a nightmare. It's not saying it's all in your mind. It's all in your mind. Because it's all in us. If you say it's all in your mind, the pressure goes on the person and they don't feel good. They think it's their fault. Nobody sees it. They can see it. And there's what's wrong with me. And then they become really... So how do we care for people who have such problems? People don't have to have diagnosed mental problems. Sometimes they can sort of, couple of minutes they are like that. For a couple of minutes they can become really, really. They can see things, or they can see things that are not there, but because something is definitely conditioning, If the sleep is conditioning the person to have dreams, anger definitely is conditioning the person to see things. But the anger person has is not the mind. The anger person has is maybe anger to something else that he hasn't recovered or resolved it, and this is therefore obscuring his fitness to look at this object with sane mind. He doesn't have a sane mind because the anger over what happened at the office is still obscuring his mind to see these things. So there is interdependence between what was his day like at work and how he's not coping well in the afternoon with something else. It's very good, very helpful to think like that. Poor thing, maybe there's something has triggered him at work or whatever. When you think of that, then you don't say, it's in all your mind. See, we're much kinder to the other person. We'd be a bit more patient, maybe. We have to practice compassion, remember? The whole idea is, how do we learn to be compassionate when people are steering off the main highway, let alone the middle way, going into the precipice? How do we practice compassion? That is the middle way. Not just that we have the right view and then we think it covers us, but how do we save sentient beings with compassion, knowing that they are interdependently predisposed to think that way? So it's not because it's in front of you and me he's behaving like that, but he has many other causes and conditions other than his own mind only. Because mind only thinks it's all in your mind. If you're very, very healthy, it's good to think that way. If you're not healthy, it's a very dangerous that it's all in your mind. People have been put pressure by society and family and parents. It's all your fault, all your fault, all your fault. It's not different to saying it's all your fault, saying it's all in your mind. So that's why we have to say, it is not all your fault, my dear. You know? You must have had a very difficult day, I can tell. Come, do you need a drink? You know, just stop the argument and change the subject and bring a nice drink, or open the window, or turn on the heater, or turn off the heater. It's really good to do that. You know, that's what we need to do. You know, this how do you argue it usefully so it is compassionate to the person who is steering off the main way and about to fall off the path. So we shouldn't. That's what I started by saying. We shouldn't always think of these as some Indian schools that has got this wrong view, and we got to see which one to adopt, which one to reject. It's not that. We ourselves often feel, it's all in your mind. It's all your projection. We don't realize what are the causes and conditions we have done or said something, as well as what are the causes and conditions they have been going through during the work or whatever, that this is all making him to be in the space that he can't help but be in that space. So everything is interdependent, originated. When we can do that, it actually helps us to not push our saying, we don't become like a mind-only school view holder type of thing, you know? Because we are able to consider all the causes and conditions, known and unknown, hidden and apparent. More hidden causes of their upset or their sufferings. See? Therefore, one sees a visual object, it must arise from factors that include the visual object and the sense organ, not just the mind. Not just the mind. The blind person does not have these factors present in the awakened state. This is why he does not see the visual form. He doesn't have the visual form. In dreams, when we see the visual form, even if it is false, it is still there is still the collection of these factors. This is the rejection of counter-argument through earlier reasoning. And the next is all the reasonings are similar to the thesis now, so that how the reasonings are slowly sort of upgraded to higher views. This has 2.5 lines. 2.5 lines means 3 lines. Instead of saying 3 lines, it's 2.5 lines. If it's 2.5 lines, it's not 3 lines, is it? No. So therefore, we have to say it's 3 lines because 4 lines is 1 verse, and 1 verse is made of 4 lines. So you should 2.5 lines. We should say just 2 lines, no, 3 lines, 3 lines, full stop. 3 lines show this. Dielene kantan kantapa tetan tene tamja tsungtong we zunde seje sangye namgine. So that's the 3 lines. However you may answer, and whatever you may say, it all appears to us as mere hypothesis, which brings the disputation to a close. Whatever reasoning you bring, so this is Madhyamika talking to mind-only school. Whatever reasoning you bring, in which whatever way you try to prove your assertions, all these arguments will be merely assertions. All assertions need to be proved. Madhyamika will not accept evidence without proof. So Madhyamika will not accept your evidence, will not accept your assertion without acceptable evidence. You cannot say the blind, so the mind sees the visual form without eye sense organ because it's held by sleep. See, it's not held by sleep. This will have to be proved. They haven't proved. All the answers you give are like these, like thesis, yeah, thesis. I don't know. It's IS, isn't it?
Plural is E.
Huh?
Plural is E.
Thesis. Thesis. Oh yeah, thesis. Yeah, they're like these theses. Like thesis. Okay. All these answers you give are like thesis. Yeah. So you should abandon them. So means all of your theses are wrong. In other words, all arguments are rejected. In this way, all the arguments presented by Mind School are rejected by Madhyamika school. The fourth one, which is the reason, pointing out that there is no scriptural evidence. So this is not only their reasoning is wrong, but they also lack the scriptural evidence. Means they need to show some sayings by authoritative scholars, Buddhas, and accepted authors. So that is next 1.5 line. I thought it was just one line. I thought it was one line. The next one line. Yeah, you can't have that many lines. Next one line. Next one line. Next one line. One.
1.5 Tibetan line.
Yeah. I think. The Buddha never taught that things existed truly. So it says that we haven't seen any statement that backs your assertion, because Buddha said, "Daryan ngobo meche matentos, and daryan ngobo majen." Matentos, the word Buddha is, I think, is inserted by the translators. It doesn't say. It was never taught that things existed truly. This was never taught. So who's that? They're talking about Buddha. Of course, Buddha is accepted by both Mind Only and the Madhyamika school. So it was never taught that things existed truly. Yeah, truly. And the one line here, not 1.5 line, one line here, the one line here refers to the original Tibetan text, which is only one line. Makes it easier. In English, it is one full line. I don't know. I have no idea. Sometimes they say "Tagdak china dig tong" in Tibetan, and when you try to be very clear, it becomes very confusing. So sometimes it's good to leave a little bit, sort of, people try to use their imagination. How many lines is 4 lines? Don't try to halve them, quarter them, and keep keep making 6 lines. In the present context, this should be applied to the existence of mind, only. The Yogacara school tries to prove that all other things are non-existent, because Yogacara school says there is no object, nor the sense consciousness necessary. It's only the mind only will do. Prove that all things are non-existent, that only the mind exists. That's why it's the word mind only. So now we know the mind only school does not put any credence to the existence of the object and the sense organ. They only think it's all mind. So that's why the word chitta matrin in Sanskrit means only. Matrin means only. It gives all these examples of dreams and so on. Theories of mindfulness could have been refuted here through logical reasoning. Madhyamika says here that there is no scriptural evidence in support of the contention that the mind only exists, because Buddha never said mind only exists. And Buddha never taught that things exist truly, means mind only exists independently. So the mind itself does not exist independently. That's the very reason why the idea of that the self is not the body, not the feelings, and so on. Slowly it strips away all the things, and then then there is the mind. But then we say, where is the mind? Mind cannot be located. It's yellow or red or blue or white or square or male or female, or you couldn't. And therefore, the mind itself is the most important example in mind that it doesn't exist independently. Who knows the mind? No. So we have to see someone who has spotted the mind, have taken a photo, and so like that. Yeah, so that's when it says Buddha never taught that things exist truly. Actually, Buddha never taught that mind existed truly. Yeah, things such as mind exist truly. So mind is included. Buddha said nothing exists independently or truly from its own side. Yeah, if nothing exists by itself, how could mind itself exist by itself? Isn't it? So even though the text says things, and things means mind is included, because things are phenomena, and so is the mind is also phenomena. So the mind also could not exist truly means independently, truly means unitarily, truly means independently. So if it doesn't exist inherently, independently, and unitarily, therefore mind also could not exist. Could not be established of existence. So. The Buddha actually said that nothing exists truly. This concludes the presenting reasoning to oppose it. This brings us to the end of the further refutation on the basis of support and the object. Now we come to the second, which is negating the substantial existence of Paratantra, Paratantra, which is the Paratantra we were talking last week. Paratantra means dependent. Para means other. Tantra means continuity, depending on the other. So dependent, Paratantra. And no evidence of existence of Paratantra. Second is evidence of self-awareness is analyzed and refuted. Third is refuting the notion that it exists without any evidence. Actually, this completes the example of erroneous sense consciousness does not accomplish the point. Now we come to the third one, which is the example of erroneous meditative mind does not accomplish the point, because erroneous meditative mind does not accomplish the point. So now even the erroneous meditative mind does not accomplish points. So therefore, one needs to be very tactful in analyzing the mind, meditative mind. So we have dealt with the two examples already. The two analogies: mind consciousness, erroneous sense consciousness, because it's all about the dreams and visual consciousness. These are erroneous sense consciousness. So the mind consciousness is refuted, erroneous sense consciousness is refuted. Now we're going to refute the erroneous meditative consciousness. The word mistaken is used here because they are considered as mistaken even by the mind-only school. The third is example of erroneous meditative mind does not accomplish the point. This is shown by two verses here. Nanjur paye lame mengale kingru ni kan sahin tongwa kan Teryang sumjer kyewa meparatong loba yila chepar denchiro. Kyugye wanglu yu nam jidawa tedara midu iki yang gyurna deshin yude lode jikshu ki Tonju ten zumbarayang mingyurs. Now, this is very, very clear illustration. Instructed by their masters, instructed by masters. The yogis meditate, So yogi means the meditators who receive the instructions from their masters, meditate. What do they meditate? And see the ground as stern with skeletons. Because they were taught to meditate on skeletons. They say all the appearance of body, instead of being desirable, they actually are skeletons. So the meditators are converted into thinking that what you see are not as they appear. They are not appealing and desirable at all. They actually are none other than skeletons wrapped in skin and plastered by these things. But actually it's all nothing but skeletons. But even then, the object, the sense, object is what they see, the sense or the eye, and the consciousness all perceived as unoriginate, unoriginate means as if things have not actually come to exist, but they appear. Things doesn't exist, but they want to appear. They are perceived. The teaching is thus described as a mental construct without true existence. If such unpleasant mental objects, such as skeletons, say if we all see each other skeletons, I don't think we will be listening here. Skeleton talking to skeleton. Maybe we are biased to skin or biased to flesh that's in between the two. If such unpleasant mental objects are as other objects that you say is mind, when others look on them, they should perceive accordingly, and yet such objects are not false. Now, this is of course the example of erroneous meditative mind does not accomplish the point. This is an analogy of a person who receives instructions from a spiritual guide on how to meditate on skeletons and following that method meditates. Like this method meditation is very, very gradual. They actually have how to meditate the body on the 9 stages. The seeing everything as skeleton is the 9th level. Before that, they first have to see the body as that is dead body. And then second, and so on, they see the body as being sort of dismembered and then decomposed, and then slowly it moves the meditation that the flesh and skin, the eyes are gouged and blood oozing out, and maybe some of the joints are ripped apart from the man carcass and so on. Then so it slowly goes that then later on when you come to you can't see any flesh or any skin or not even any blood, but only the skeleton. But has still got a lot of bits and pieces of flesh and tendons stuck on the stuff. Then the 9th stage is where you only see the skeletons. This is the meditation, This is very Buddhist. See, we haven't done real Buddhist meditation. They do the nine stages of the to witness all the 36 impurities. You have to, because the bone is not the impurities. Bone is the cleanness. You eliminate all the 36 impurities from the skin and flesh and pus and fat and all the things away, and then completely reduces to just skeleton. That's the highest level meditation. You unfrighteningly meditate on this. He reaches a stage. He reaches a stage where he's finally able to see everything as a skeleton. That was the Buddha when he went out for what they call 4 sights. When he saw, one day he saw a sick person, another day he saw an old man, another day he saw a dead man, And then when he came home, his mind was so transformed. He can see everybody in the palace as walking skeletons. walking skeletons. He can't, just. And so everything was fast forward because they will all walk. Sooner or later, they all will be skeletons, whether they will be able to walk in skeletons or not. But we are able to when when we are joined together by the leather. When the leather holds together, when the bags are stitched together. All the joints are holding together. So definitely we are walking corpses. And from that point. So there's no reason to feel attachment. There's no reason to feel attachment unless someone is attached to skeletons. Which is possible, It's amazing sometimes what. If fear comes, that is better than having attachment. Yeah, if you get frightened by the skeletons, it's still better than attachment to it, as it is pleasant or desirable. Is the cognition that sees everything as skeleton an unmistaken mentality to meditative mind, or is it false? Now, when the meditator reaches this kind of awareness, the question is erroneous meditative mind. The answer is that it is mistaken. It is mistaken in the sense that seeing everything as a skeleton is not valid either in a conventional or in ultimate truth. Seeing everything as skeleton, even at that point, Madhyamika would say, or rather Chandrakirti said, that all three factors are not produced at that time. Yeah, so therefore, definitely it's an apparition. Yeah, apparition. It's due to meditation. You can suggest your mind to think like that, and usually we see what we think. So therefore, it has. So therefore, from the Madhyamika school, from the mind-only school, says that all three factors are not produced at that time. So therefore, it's a mistaken false perception. Mistaken false perception. The meaning of the third line is that when yogis see the ground covered with skeletons, the three factors involve lack production in the real sense. Yeah. This means that just as the object, the skeleton, does not exist, the sense organ does not exist, neither does the meditative mind. Unless one is still not skeleton, one has an eyeball that can see the skeletons. I don't know whether skeleton can see skeleton without the eyeball. or the mental consciousness, I think that is not raised here. This means that just as the object, skeleton, doesn't exist, sense organ does not exist, and neither does the meditative mind, Of course, sense organ, how could sense organ exist without the mind and vice versa? All these three factors are equally non-existent. Yeah, equally non-existent. This is the point raised by Chandrakirti. Chandrakirti is raising this point. It is not that yogis who are saying it. Yeah. This is because it is taught to be false meditation or attention. It's a mistaken way of looking at things, conventionally speaking, Because it is not so, the object of sense faculty and the result are all without production. Neither the skeletons nor the meditative mind exist, yeah? If you say that the sense consciousness is correct, then wherever they look, they will see the same object. All who have the same eye consciousness will see this same cup because the correct eye consciousness exists. If the seeing of the skeleton by the meditative mind is on that level, even if somebody who has gone through the meditation were to look at the same place looked by the meditator, he should be able to see that everything as skeleton. But this is not so. That is why the proposition that the meditative mind sees the ground covered with a skeleton is false. Yeah, in a relative sense, relative sense. Even though there may be function of the meditator to do the meditation in order to have some, I would say, to train the mind of the meditators to see that all objects are largely, largely created by one's desire into an object, because one doesn't see all object as desirable, all body as desirable. One sees only certain body as desirable. So that means that the desire, whichever the body, the mind thinks is desirable, he sees desirable, but he doesn't see all bodies as desirable. So that shows there is a body dependence on the visual object, isn't it? So there is an object that the mind is dependent on, which therefore perceives as desirable. Because to overcome that, because it's object-based origination of desire. Therefore, it should be. Therefore, when one meditate on skeletons, the object is the desire is originated by a particular object, as well as the mind, as well as the sense consciousness. So if the coming together of these three produce the desirability, maybe the coming togetherness of the different mental thoughts with the object and the eye consciousness can see skeletons. So from that point of view, the conventional meditation on meditating on ugliness and unpleasantness until one can see a skeleton while philosophically is argued here as false, but has an actual function to teach that the fixation to a particular object as desirable is not independently to do with object. It's to do with the mind that is desiring. So when the mind is learned to undesire the object, see that as a disgusting object, then the object can manifest as disgusting, even though it was that very object that gave rise to the desirable feeling. So therefore, we shouldn't confuse this argument with the general teaching. They say meditate on unpleasantness and repulsiveness of the object to overcome your desire of the object. So from the method point of view, it can be useful as an exercise, but here we are arguing. Chandrakirti particularly said this is false. But I think if we go out of the syllogistic kind of situation and talk about the actual usefulness of meditating on desired object as a undesirable and unpleasant is a valid recommended technique. Recommended technique, because you are dismantling the true existence of the object. So you are invalidating the true existence of a beautiful object. That inherently exists in the object. So it doesn't. So we are not trying to see the true existence of the skeleton. That's not the purpose, That's not the purpose. Purpose is to refute the true existence of beautiful objects, See what I mean? So these are two purposes. So there's not contradictory. When some vision is false, not only the object is false, but the sense consciousness is also false. All three factors are equally false. All three factors, whether the seeing beauty in an object and the eye consciousness that sees it, and mind consciousness that feels, they're all equally false. There's even the falseness is not independently existing. Falseness is also propped up by all these three. This is what Madhyamika demonstrated when it explained both the case of unclear sight and sight in dreams. To the vision of the dreamer, all three are equally existent, whereas when he awakens, all three are equally false. When one is dreaming, the object, the mind, even though one's eyes closed, but one is seeing in the dream. Even the object doesn't exist, there is the object, you know. He doesn't want to be told the object doesn't exist in the dream, you know. He doesn't know it's a dream. And when he's dreaming, he can see it, and he also experiences. So that's what said, all three are equally existing. Only when he wakes up from the sleep, all three are equally false. All three are equal. So to the unclear side, all three things, the vision, the hair, and the sense faculty are present. Yeah. Person who has some cataract or something, then when for him, the hair and the eye sense faculty and the mind that sees the hairline are all present, whereas to the clear side, all three are equally false. Yeah. For the person who has a clear vision, he doesn't seeing the hairline. Seeing the hair is false. His eye consciousness, that one who sees that eye consciousness is also false, and also the mind that believes in it is also all equally false. In the same way, to the vision of the meditative mind, you know, this is the analogy. Skeleton exists, but to the vision without the meditative mind, you know. Not only do the skeleton not exist, but the meditative mind also do not exist. Yeah. This does not prove that either mind or external object, either mind or external object exists. Analogy does not prove the existence of either. Then we'll stop there. Any questions? Any comments? Okay, thank you. We will do the dedication marriage so that we are kinder to people.